Thank you very much for being here with us at Talks today again. This is our second conversation. This time we're going to be talking with Daniel Marcos, which is a CEO and founder of the Growth Institute. We're going to be talking about how you can, as a business leader, implement many different things in order to overcome this fear of getting into the digital transformation that is going to be helping you to scale your business a lot. You're here because, as we do, you believe that connecting with the people through technology is the basis and fundamental thing that you have to focus on in order to get a better growth for your business. So welcome, and thank you very much for being here with us this time. Daniel Marcos is the co-founder and CEO of the Growth Institute, the leading online executive education company for C-level executives at fast-growing firms. He is a keynote speaker and a CEO coach with a mission to help over 1 million entrepreneurs worldwide. Daniel was an early entrepreneur. He started a t-shirt business at the age of 8 and then partnered with a car detailing franchise to provide cleaning services throughout his high school years. And then in less than a decade, the Growth Institute has been recognized among the top 5,000 fastest growing companies in the USA, with over 40,000 members across 64 countries. Additionally, Daniel is the CEO of EXO Education and serves as the ambassador of Singularity University in Austin, Texas. He is also a member of the Young Presidents Organization and Entrepreneur Organization. As a serial entrepreneur, Daniel quickly realized that CEOs are often the bottleneck of the company, in the same way that you cannot solve a problem without first elevating your mindset. A business cannot evolve beyond what the CEO can handle. Daniel is on a mission to give executives the support and methodologies that he wishes he had in his entrepreneurial journey, being a good leader, successfully escalating companies, and maintaining a high quality of life. Daniel partnered with Parent Harnish in 2012 to bring executive training to the masses. So what was once reserved for a small niche of wealthy companies is now available to all CEOs and their executive teams, effectively democratizing business education and shortening the gaps in professional development. Thank you very much, Daniel, for being with us here at Talks. Thank you for your time, for taking a chance, for having a talk with us. How do you feel today?
Good. I just came to give 2 presentations to EO and Accelerator. It was awesome. For me, people said, hey, aren't you tired? And I was like, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, my energy goes up. I don't get depleted. I get energy from entrepreneurs.
I can see that. I have seen that for the past 10 years, you have been dedicated for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
That's that.
I've been an entrepreneur for 21 yees, okay. But I've been helping entrepreneurs or coaching entrepreneurs and CEOs for the last 13, more officially.
Well, that's great, man. Yeah. And now I have noticed that this Growth Institute is more about the CEOs and how they can learn to manage different things, maybe things that you didn't have when you started as a CEO yourself. Tell us more about that, please.
So we believe that no one really teaches you to be a CEO. Indeed, I remember when I built my first real company. I had a lot of small companies when I was a kid, sold t-shirts and fish and aquarium and everything. But when I built my first company, in 1998, internet time, we built the first fintech company in Mexico. And I remember that 3 of my friends from college, we agreed to build a company, 3 and myself. And one day we met a coffee, not Starbucks. We really had Starbucks then. That was 23 years ago. And we sat down and said, hey, let's do this company together, blah, blah. And then at the end, a friend said, hey, why don't we agree who's going to do what? Perfect. So my friend to my right said, hey, we're having a financial company. I'm an expert on finance. I know more finance than you guys. So I'll be in charge of finance for the company. Great. My friend in front said, hey, when I went to college, I studied electrical engineering, so I'll be the CTO. All right. And then my friend to the left said, hey, my father organizes concerts and I help him with the concerts, so I know about sales and marketing, so I'll be in charge of sales and marketing. And they looked at me and said, and what are you going to do? And I was like, finance, technology, marketing. And I was like, I'll be the CEO. And I was like, why? And I was like, so someone has to take decisions. And my friends were, okay, and that was it. So I remember I got home and told my parents, I'm a CEO. And my father said, like, what? And my company, what is your company? So I told him that we're gonna build this thing. And then he looks at me and said, like, do you know what you have to do? And I was like, no, I have to take decisions. No one really prepares you for that. And by the way, most entrepreneurs, their focus trying to build a service or a product and getting clients and investors and employees and all that. And then one day when they wake up and they realize they have a payroll, they have fixed expenses, they have responsibilities, and now they have to act as a CEO. So we believe no one really teaches you to be a CEO, and we're helping leaders be CEOs, but most importantly, working with a full team. So I've been a member of EO and YPO for some years, and I love these CEO groups, but they just focus on the entrepreneur. And it's been great for me, everything that I've learned through EO and YPO, but then I have to take the time to teach my employees and lead the implementation of everything new. At Growth Institute, every class you come with your team, you learn together, and then your team executes without you. And I really believe that's key. If you leave all the implementations, all the new things, be led by the CEO, it's a recipe for disaster. But we have to teach the CEO what they have to do, and then what's the right way to implement, so they know what's the right implementation. And then we guide the team on how to do the implementation.
And that itself is a decision.
That itself is a decision.
Very tough decision, I guess.
And by the way, we sell courses that when we sell a course or a program, usually it's for 3 or 4 people in the seat or the same company. And we get entrepreneurs calling and said, no, I just want one seat. I don't want to spend a dime in my team. And we said, well, this is not for you. If you're not willing to invest in your team and grow your team, this is not the place for you. So that's in itself is a decision, as you said.
Okay. Now, talking about making decisions as a CEO, I think that transforming your business is one of the toughest decisions there are. Now, talking about these transformation decisions, do you think that technological transformation is a huge topic at the moment?
It's extremely big, and most of the companies that we've talked to, they do it wrong. They want to do their same business and just change the last layer to be digital, for them to feel digital. And I was like, no, a digital business has to be changed from the core of the business. So let me kind of walk you through this. The constitution of our countries. When it was written, electricity didn't exist. The first time the Mexican Constitution was written, Salvadoran Constitution, first time they were written, electricity didn't exist. And today, the Constitution, we've had some small changes, but probably 5 or 10%. The other 90% is the same. How can we dominate the rules of execution today when electricity didn't even exist? So I really believe we're trying to manage all the technology that we have today, like this rocket fuels or rocket science, whatever, with systems, ethical systems, social systems, political systems, built 200-300 years ago. That's a big, big problem. Education. Have you seen education of the classroom change? In the last 300 years, it's been the same.
Not at all. Actually, I hear people complaining about that all the time.
It hasn't changed. And we expect that our leaders are going to be with the tools they need to lead a technology company with education that was built 200-300 years ago. So when we talk about changing the business, making a digital transformation, you have to go to the core of the business. It transforms the core, the culture, everything. And then you could have a full transformation. Just changing the printers and the things get done in PDF, that's not digital transformation.
So making amendments will take you nowhere. That's basically what you're saying.
So the best example, in Mexico you used to have a company called Guía Roji. And the Guía Roji was the maps. Whenever you were going on the highway, you bought this book of maps. And they had pictures. And you kind of have to go through the street. And then when the page ends, you have to go through the page, right? When the internet started, Guía Roji, they put the same pictures they had on the books, on the internet. So you open a picture and you were trying to see where you were. And then when the end of the picture was, you have to push a button and it goes, shh. That was a terrible mistake, right? They were thinking analog and they think that they just put it online, it was going to work. No, Google came and said, hey, now we have tools that we didn't have before. Let's make Google Maps. And now Google Maps tracks you where you're going and everything like that. That's a real transformation. Just putting pictures online is not a transformation.
Okay.
So digital transformation has to be from the core of the business, not just from the outside of the business.
So from the point that we are in right now, where do you see that this transformation is taking us in the next 3 years?
So I was explaining on my presentation earlier today that I believe in the future there's just going to be two types of business. There are going to be platforms and businesses that depend on platforms. That's it. Like Amazon as a platform. How many businesses depend on Amazon as a platform? How much money people are making through Amazon? Billions and billions and billions. But to go against Amazon or do a platform that challenges Amazon, it's going to be really, really hard and really, really difficult. So I believe in the future, or you're going to build a platform, or you're going to build a business that depends on the platform. But even, let's go to a less technologically speaking. Toyota, the car company, it's a platform of cars. Toyota is the platform. How many families, businesses depend on Toyota? Everywhere in the world, there are distributors of Toyota. And you're your own business owner, you're an entrepreneur, that you build a dealership, you have a license of Toyota, but the owner of Toyota is not going to be you. You have a license of the platform. So I really believe in the future, we're going to have two types of businesses. Platform businesses and everyone else that is going to depend on the platform. And those are the ones that are really taking the world through storm.
Now, there should be a question, I guess, in the audience, it's which one is better then? Which one of the two should I start with?
So I think whoever owns the platform are going to be astronomically wealthy, like Bill Gates or all these people that we know, Mark Zuckerberg and the rest. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to make a lot of money with much less risk from the platforms. So let's imagine this. Imagine you want to build a product to sell. How easy will it be for you to sell your product if you had access to Amazon? How less risky will you be able to do a business if you could just put a picture and start selling it online with all the infrastructure of Amazon? So I believe the platforms will reduce risk of entrepreneurship, will make businesses less risky, but it's going to be, you're going to have less probability to making a lot of money. Usually the owner of the platform makes the most of the money. So if you choose the right platforms and you make a business that adapts the easiest to the platform, you're going to do great. Let me give you an example. Spotify today. If you want to open an e-commerce, you could open an e-commerce with Spotify in half hour. The first time I built a website, 1998, when we started doing finance online, we built the first fintech in Mexico, 1998. I probably spent $4 or $5 million to launch the first website. You imagine all the risk to start my first business. Today, like you could start a financial website with peanuts in half hour.
So now that you're mentioning that, why do you think there is a discrepancy between how easy it is to put your online platform up and running and people actually not doing that?
The problem is that I think people say that we have a startup problem. I don't think we have a startup problem. Starting a company is very, very easy. Scaling a company is very, very hard. Most of the entrepreneurs, they focus on just starting and they spend all their money, all their effort, everything on starting a company. And they don't spend enough time and energy understanding how difficult and how costly it is to scale it. Let me give you an example. The other day I was called by a fellow entrepreneur and said, hey, my nephew is having this problem. He launched his app and he's not going anywhere. Can you give him a coaching call? I was like, happy. So I got into the call with these two entrepreneurs. And I was asking all these questions. And they said, yeah, we run out of money. And I was like, did you raise money? And the guy said, yeah, we raised $500,000. I was like, great. How do you spend the money? Well, building the app. And you spend all the money before you launch the app? And the guy said, yeah, you launch the app, it goes viral, you make a lot of money.
So no money
No.
for marketing, no money
They
for...
spent 100% of the money to build the app. And they were expecting the app was going to go viral when they just launched it in the App Store. Of course, the app went to the App Store and nothing happened. And they were like, why did it happen? Like, why when it went viral? Like, businesses are not like that.
Okay.
You have probably spent 20 or 30% of the money building it and 70% to sell it, right? And finance losses and the rest. But they don't understand that. They think that everything goes viral, and they've seen so many stories of things going viral that they believe they just have to launch an app online and they're going to go viral, right?
Now, let me ask you this. So, what about the customer-funded business, which is a term that I heard you discussing with the author of the book, actually?
John Mullins.
And how that can be a solution for that entrepreneur that you were having a conversation with.
So I love John Mullins for this. John Mullins is a very disciplined entrepreneur. And John Mullins says, Daniel, entrepreneurs today know that it's much easier to convince one investor to give you money than to convince 1,000 clients to buy your product. So,
Which are in a way your investors as well.
yeah, but instead of making money by producing a service or a product that people are willing to buy, it's much easier to do a PowerPoint and convince an investor to give you money. And John says, but those entrepreneurs, they raise all the money, but they never know how to do the hard work to really create a product that your client's willing to buy. In the customer-funded business, you do it the other way around, the old-fashioned. Get your capital from your clients. So create a product or a service, go and sell it, and get all your funding from your clients. I believe companies grow in stages. And for me, a scale-up is stage 3. Imagine you're an adolescent. When you're a baby and a kid, giving you a gun is very, very dangerous, right? If you're an adolescent, like, you know how to handle yourself. It might well be, but you know how to handle yourself, right? Don't talk about a gun.
Oh, I know.
Let me give you a car, right? If you're an adolescent, you use a car. You could be dangerous with a car, but you could be really productive with a car, right? But if you're 1-year-old or 5-year-old and I'll give you a car, I'll be really dangerous. For me, raising money on stage 1 and 2 is very dangerous. It's like giving a gun or a candy to a kid that has no idea how to use it. Funding should be on stage 3 to scale a company. Stage 1 and stage 2, you could have to figure out your business or your funding with your clients, doing the hard work to produce something that is worth it to have a market. That's why I love John Mullins, because in today's world, money is so widely available and so cheap that for entrepreneurs it's being much easier to raise money than to really sell a product or a service, provide value to the market to get your money or your finance with your customers. And that's why it's such an important methodology or book.
Now, how you can create a relationship with the customers so you can really achieve Muller's vision?
So for me, that's the main job of stage 1, and is a product market fit. And I believe marketing, it's such an important tool on stage 1 to really understand your market and understand what your market wants. So you build a business plan, right? And in your business plan, you have certain assumptions. And you said, well, I'm going to do a product and it's going to be yellow and clients are going to love a yellow product. And then you start a business and your clients said like, oh, I wanted yellow, I wanted blue, or I wanted gray. No, but I think it's yellow and I painted all my products yellow. No, your clients will tell you what they want. Stage 1, you start doing a product or a service, an MVP, and you start providing service or a product to your clients. And your client said, hey, I really like your product, I want to buy it, but if you had it gray or light blue, I will buy way more. Why? Well, because whatever, right? So the only way for you to know that is to have a communication with your clients on stage 1 and really providing a service and hearing what your client wants. Let me tell you a story, quick story. Remember the Segway?
Yes.
Okay, the Segway went under for the 5th time last year and it was shut down. There's a book called Codenamed Ginger, and it's a story of how they built Segway. They spent $70 million before producing the first Segway ever in history. But the owner was so sure of himself that he said, I don't need client knowledge or anything. I know what the client wants. and he builds an amazing product. And the Segway was a great product. But he was so in love and stubborn with him that he said, I know exactly what the client wants. So I'm going to spend $70 million in building what I think the client wants. And when he built the product, no one wanted it. And the company went under 5 times. And 5 people bought it until the last one just shut it down.
Wow.
It's such a great product in your mindset, but such a bad product in day-to-day. And this is a story that I love in the book. So they spent $70 million in building it, and they invite a group of innovators to come and see the first Segway. One of these innovators was Steve Jobs. So they have these 6 or 7 innovators, they bring the Segway, they make all this big noise about it, blah, blah, and they kind of do the demo and said, all the mailmen that distribute the mail in the US are going to use one. And all the police officers are going to use one. And they were telling all the use of the product based on all these things, or all these people.
How wrong they were.
And they finished all the demo, and they look at this innovator and said, hey, what do you think about our product? Like, it's a great product. And the guy, kind of being so full of himself, he looks to Steve Jobs and says, Steve, what do you think? Because if Steve Jobs said, wow, it's amazing, no one else was going to say anything bad about it. And Steve Jobs looks at it, and the guy writes it in the book. He reads it, he looks at it and said, it's going to fail. And the guy just started like flipping out and said, what do you mean it's going to fail? I said, let me tell you. So you said that mailman is going to use it, right? Okay. So mailman usually deliver around 20 pounds of mail per delivery tour. Your Segway just could carry 10 pounds, and you need 20. Then the route usually takes them 8 hours. Your Segway has 3 hours of battery, so it's not going to work. And then he starts giving them why it was not going to work with everything the guy has told him. And the guy at the end said like, wow, you don't understand products. You will see it's going to be great. He didn't even put attention to Steve Jobs. Figure out how to get an investor to get him $10 more million to launch the Segway. Disaster.
So adding up to the 70 million already.
After 70 million, they got 10 more to promote the launch. Failure. And Steve Jobs told him it was going to be a disaster. Everything is written on the book, called Name Ginger. It's brilliant, the book of how you could be so in love with your product in your mind that you don't see what the client really wants and needs.
So you're deaf to the feedback of
100%.
Okay.
I really believe stage 1, and that's why I say marketing is the most important thing on stage 1, to have a conversation with your potential client, for you to tell them what you want them to sell to them, and the client to tell you what they're willing to buy and how much. And that's when you confirm all your assumptions.
Okay. Now, I have seen that online you talk about marketing, sales, and scaling up and growth on your basis, but how do you think that it will be a very practical and pragmatical action that someone can do right now in order to start that scale up?
So scaling up, it's not difficult. Indeed, what is scaling up for me is giving you discipline. Entrepreneurs were very undisciplined entrepreneurs, most of entrepreneurs. We want to stay in the strategy and the fun and all the cool things, and running a business is really boring. Scaling up is how to build or how to run a business that runs like a machine. So the way I see scaling up, people said, I want my boat to go really fast. So I'm going to put a really, really strong engine to my boat. And I was like, yeah, you could make a boat go really fast if you put a small engine. But if the boat is clunky and has holes and water's coming in, and instead of being aerodynamic, it's kind of clunky and in a box, even if you put a great engine, you're going to spend a lot of energy moving your boat, and you're going to throw a lot of water. That's all the drama that happens. So you could move a boat, but it's going to be painful to move the boat. You first have to make a hull of a boat very efficient, very aerodynamic, and then you could push it with very little energy, and it's going to move really fast on the water.
Okay. Now, I have seen that online you talk about marketing, sales, and scaling up and growth on your basis, but how do you think that it will be a very practical and pragmatical action someone can do right now in order to
So-
start that scale up?
So scaling up, it's not difficult. Indeed, what is scaling up for me is giving you discipline. Entrepreneurs were very undisciplined entrepreneurs, most of entrepreneurs. We want to stay in the strategy and the fun and all the cool things. And running a business is really boring. Scaling up is how to build or how to run a business that runs like a machine. So the way I see scaling up, people said, I want my boat to go really fast. So I'm going to put a really, really strong engine to my boat. And I was like, yeah, you could make a boat go really fast if you put a small engine. But if the boat is clunky and has holes and water is coming in, and instead of being aerodynamic, it's kind of clunky and in a box, even if you put a great engine, you can spend a lot of energy moving your boat, and you're going to throw a lot of water. That's all the drama that happens. So you could move a boat, but it's going to be painful to move the boat. You first have to make a hull of a boat very efficient, very aerodynamic, and then you could push it with very little energy, and it's going to move really fast on the water. That's what, for me, scaling up. Scaling up helps you to build an engine that moves very efficiently through the market. And the market being so complicated that the ones that move more efficiently usually overperform the non-efficient boats and usually scale in the market.
Within that analogy, what will be the feedback of the customers in stage 1 and 2?
So, for me, scaling, like, you don't start driving with a Formula One car, right? You start driving a tricycle, and then a bicycle with wheels, and then you remove the wheels, and then you ride a motorcycle, and then you ride a car, right? It's the same process of scaling a company. You don't start with a Formula One boat day one. You start with a very, very clunky boat. And with a conversation with your client, you start telling them, hey, I want to take you on my boat. And the client said like, well, yeah, but your boat moves a lot or rocks a lot or is going very slow. I want to go a little bit faster. And those conversations, you start improving your product based on what your client tells you. And then you make a much better boat based on what your client wants, not what you want. And your client said, hey, if you change this, I will ride more with you. Or if you paint them blue instead of yellow, I will use the boat more, or whatever, right? And the more you do that, the more your clients buy from you. And here's something that I really like from Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is a great mentor of mine. And Dan Sullivan says, I never take advice from anyone that doesn't write me a check. People said, hey, I love your boat, but if you paint it pink, I will ride with you. And you say, okay, great. Tomorrow it's going to be painted pink. Buy a ticket. Well, no, it's not for me. I'm just saying for you. Don't take that advice. But if people said, hey, if you painted dark blue, and you say, okay, great, tomorrow's going to be dark blue. Buy me a ticket. Here's 10 tickets. That person, put attention to what he said and do what he did.
So paying attention to the people that is willing to pay you
To write
more.
you a check.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, in order to recap all that we have talked about in this conversation, I would like you to explore how social media and how the platforms that you have available as a company on the internet can help you to scaling up, listen to the customer, and also founding your company on them.
I love social media. So, as a father, I'm a little bit afraid of social media for my kids, and they could go weird places and stuff. I get it.
Of course.
But as an entrepreneur, like, oh my God, it couldn't be a more efficient way to sell my products or services. Imagine the power, like in Facebook or whatever. I've been building a community in Facebook. I have 700,000 people following me on Facebook. Let's put this in context. Do you like soccer, football, soccer?
I do.
Okay. Mexico, which is the biggest stadium in Mexico?
The Azteca?
The Azteca. How many people fit in the Azteca?
I think 60, 70,000 people.
Like 80,000. I have 700,000 followers in Facebook.
It's double the size.
7 or 8 times the size of the stadium. How much will you pay to go on a stadium before a game, 100,000 people, and you could tell a message of your business. How much will you pay for that? Millions, right? I could do that in Facebook 50 times a day for zero cost. How effective is that? As an entrepreneur, I love social media. Indeed, I sent a video to my team 2 days ago. Gary V or Gary Vaynerchuk. He said the number one determinator of your success of your business in 2022 is your capacity to make great content in social media in 2022. Those who could dominate messaging in social media could dominate an industry. Indeed, at Scaling Up, we always say, if you want to dominate an industry, you first have to dominate the ink of the industry. When they talk about an industry, they have to talk about you. When they're doing a congress about the industry, you have to speak in there. If they're doing a newspaper article, they have to interview you. If you own the conversation of any subject, you own that industry. Social media allows you to do that for zero cost or very, very little cost. How many people have made millions and millions of dollars because they know how to drive a message online? So I believe, like every tool, help us do leverage. Social media is an amazing tool of leverage for growth or for dominating an industry or a message. So I love social media. I am a huge promoter of social media for business, and I really believe, as Gary said, a big determinator of your success in the next 3 to 5 years is going to be your capacity to use social media to your advantage. And you're going to make millions if you do it right.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Daniel. That will be all of our conversation. I just want to give you the chance right now to share some last words of wisdom with the people.
So remember, we don't have a startup problem. We have a scale-up problem. Help entrepreneurs not just to start businesses, to scale businesses. A business that starts and never scales generates more debt and frustration to the entrepreneur than them working for someone else. I've always said this. If you're not going to do a business that is going to grow above $1 million of revenue, don't do it. If you don't have clear path to get above $1 million of revenue in a year, don't do it. You will do way better working for someone else than being your own entrepreneur. 100%. So don't just focus on starting a business, focus on how to scale a business.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Great
It's
pleasure.
a pleasure.
Thank you.